Clicking to go to YouTube Live, and I think we're there. Okay. So why don't we just kind of let the dust settle a little bit and just breathe and give people a few minutes just to get into the class if they're coming. All right. We'll let people drop in their own time. Start by just being present in this room. And we're just going to give our day a chance to kind of slow down a little bit. And just fall off of us. It's funny how when we do this, you can suddenly feel your day in your body. You know, you can feel all those little unresolved energies as they try to figure out what to do with themselves because you've stopped feeding them. So just let everything kind of come to its own stop in its own time. For any newcomers, this is being videoed for YouTube, but YouTube will only see my face. To maintain your privacy, it'll just be my head listening to anything you do or say. So you're welcome to ask questions on these with, your mute off if you want, or you can put questions in the chat, and that's okay too. Whatever you're comfortable with. But for now, let's just step into a landed, grounded space. Become aware of your breath. Take in the room around you. For the next hour, there's nothing to do. There's nothing to understand. There's nothing to be except present. The easiest hour ever, right? So I'm going to give just a quick rundown on the meditative practice that we do here. This is a direct entry into the silence. The technique is pretty simple. You're going to shift your attention to your breath. As you breathe in, you're right there with your breath, watching every single inch of that process, feeling your skin expand, feeling your ribs expand, all of it. As you exhale, you're riding that breath all the way down. You are giving yourself wholeheartedly to this simple act of breathing. And you're so given to it that when you get to the very top of the breath, as you're transitioning from the inhale into the exhale, you become aware of this little gap of nothing space. It's just like when you hear me stop talking, it's like you suddenly fall off a cliff into this nothing space. This is the space in between all the sounds, all the words, and this gap exists in between your breaths. So at the top of the breath and at the bottom of the breath, there's just this little gap of space. Just like when an orchestra stops playing, but right before the audience applauds, that little moment of silence is a doorway in to the meditative space. So we're breathing and we're wholeheartedly given to our breath. And we just live the simplicity of that. Now it's simple, but it's not always easy. And the reason it's not easy is because your mind, your personality, wants to be fed. Guys, we're getting a little bit of feedback noise. Could I just ask that you mute until you have a question or something? And questions are totally welcome. Your mind.
Are we supposed to show a picture, or I mean?
Only if you're comfortable. So your pictures will not end up on the video, just for your privacy. But you are welcome to show your picture. Someday if we have 4,000 people on a Zoom call, maybe we'll have pictures turned off. But for now, we have the luxury of whatever you want.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So what we're saying is that it's simple to just be a watcher of your breath, but it isn't easy. And the thing that makes it hard is your personality. When you choose to really give yourself to just focusing on your breath, your personality is going to come in to try and pull you away from that chosen point of focus. Because for you to maintain your sense of self, you really do require constant shifting and directing of the attention by all of your personality wants, likes, dislikes, fears, and desires. And meditation is actually a chance to step out of that. So, let's begin. You're going to place your attention kind of high up in your head, so forehead and crown. This kind of helps produce chemicals that relax the body a little bit. And then, with your eyes open, and maybe focused on a spot right in front of you or on the floor, you're just going to begin to breathe. And you're going to be 100% present with that breath, just like we discussed. When the mind comes in to take you away, you're going to gently return to the breath. And this is the basic practice. If you had no other practice, you could step into full awareness with just this practice. So let's go ahead and start. And if there are any questions about that, you can ask them. Let the body be the body. Let your stories be the stories. Let the voice in your head be the voice in your head. You be the watcher of your breath. As you breathe in, breathe out, and nothing else. That's good. Now see if you can let your heart relax into it a little more. What if you just let this be comfortable? What if this didn't have to be anything at all? Nothing to protect, nothing to withhold. Let the silence touch all of you. Let the breath touch all of you. Every cell of your body. Make it all available right now. Meditation starts where you stop. What if you just stopped? Stopped defending, stopped struggling, and just gave yourself to the breath. What would that feel like? There's a metaphor for awakening to your true self. And it's an apt metaphor in some ways, a little overly simplistic. But that's what's good about it. And the idea is that your life is like a river. You know, it starts on a high mountaintop somewhere. And just the nature of the forces around you, gravity, make it impossible for that river to do anything else but struggle its way off that mountaintop and down into a stream. And it continues that way until it gets to larger bodies of water. Ultimately, every river is going to try and find its way to an ocean. Hopefully nobody who actually knows about rivers and oceans is listening to this. But for a metaphor, it works. In life, we struggle so much, the twists and turns of this river. You know, we deal with all these jagged rocks, emotionally withholding shrubbery, passive-aggressive fish. We take on a tremendous amount of drama. And the whole way down, we don't even really know what we want. We have all these ideas of what we think we want. We think we want the perfect partner. We think we want the perfect job. We think we want the perfect body. But really, if you take a few steps past all of those things, what we really want is to be done. We want to feel complete. We want to feel like we did what we were supposed to do and we did it right. We want to feel full and complete. That's why you want the perfect partner. That's why you want the best computer. That's why you want the perfect job, a group of friends. It's because you kind of hold that feeling of completeness hostage. I've done that to myself with degrees. Put myself through the ringer all the way to the tune of a PhD. But at the end of the day, it never ends up being what you actually wanted. When you get it, it's never actually giving you what you really wanted. What you wanted is to just feel okay. You wanted permission to feel okay. Permission to just stop and open up and breathe in this moment. Well, what's the benefit of holding that hostage? The truth is, you're going to the same place no matter what. All water ends up in the ocean, at least in this metaphor. All water goes from higher gravity to lower positions on the planet. So, in a way, there's nothing to figure out. You can play with the twists and turns of the river, and that's fine. You can merge into an ocean, and that's great too. When a lot of people step onto a spiritual path, they step into they flip to the opposite side of the coin. And what they want to do is they've just got to get to the ocean. They've got to get to the ocean. They've got to get to that place of oneness with everything. And I'm not so sure that that's the answer either. I think the answer is really to hold it all in place at once. To stop asking the whole thing to be anything different than it is. To stop asking the rocks to not be jagged. To stop asking the fish to not be passive-aggressive. When you can just open up right here, right now, and not reach outside of this moment for anything, you're exactly where you need to be. And you can do that at any point in your trek back to the ocean. The truth is, the ocean is not a distance away from you. It's all here, right now. The story of your life and the freedom behind it is all here right now. And you don't have to give any of it up. You just have to be conscious within it. If you step into a story of your life, if you decide to go for something that you want to go for, on some level you don't lose sight of the fact that that's just a temporary twist and turn down a river, and that the ultimate truth is that everything is totally fine. Even your death. Your birth, your life, and your death, all fine. All inevitable. And all fine. So, my invitation to you today is to step into meditation not as a tight practice, but as a willingness to be present with the breath. Wholeheartedly, completely present, dancing with the breath in the room you're in, with all your difficulties intact. And don't ask anything to be different than it is right now. Just be with it, and you'll see that nothing has to change for everything to be absolutely fine. Let's step into that right now. Return to the breath. Breathe in, breathe out, with every inch of your heart and soul, and nothing else. That dark little tension you feel in your body, what if you just gave it up? Released your investment in it entirely, and let the breath wash over it. As you breathe in, breathe out, and nothing else. Let everything else spin itself out and come to a stop as you breathe in, breathe out, and nothing else. It's a very thin veil between you and the eternity of a silent mind. A thin veil of stories and investments in those stories. Let it all come to a stop and the veil will part. It's okay to just stop everything and breathe. That peace some of you are feeling around your bodies is a reflection of a silent mind. The longer you stay there, the more that charge will grow. Let it build. Don't play with it, just let it build. Let it open you. Let your heart relax. There's nothing for it to do right now. When you reach that moment of boredom or that feeling like you need to do something else, that's your cue to return to the breath and allow this to continue deepening. Most people will never do that. But if you do, you can see what most people will never see. How long is he going to make us sit here? Sit here as if you've always been sitting here. Sit here as if you will be sitting here for the rest of eternity. If you can do that, your mind will step out of the way and give you an experience with meditation. let's talk a little bit. Does anyone have any questions or experiences they'd like to bring up, either through your microphone or through the chat?
Well, I do feel at peace.
Good.
As I comment.
So that peace that you're feeling is actually clean energy. And so what happens is, when the mind is quiet, you start kind of charging like a battery with clean energy. And so in the beginning of people's meditation practice, what that usually looks like is a feeling of peace, a better night's sleep, maybe less headaches, some kind of improvements in their health. But as you continue on forward, that peace almost becomes like another part of your sensory body, where you start to experience a deeper awareness of the ocean of silence. It stops at that point becoming nothing and becomes just no thing. It becomes something beyond words, but something that you can experience as that peace self. But that peace tells you that you're doing it right. And the more time you spend there, the further you'll go. I have found with meditation that there are usually several jumping off points. So I think the timing of these are different for everybody, but everybody has this moment in meditation, even a trained monk, where everything in their personality complex says, get your butt up and stop this right now. Go make your dinner, go figure out your taxes, go complain about something that happened at work. You know, there'll be some unbelievably convincing case to get off of your cushion or out of your seat to get on with the life of your personality. And what I have found is that every one of those moments, and you'll know them, it's like a wall you come up against. Every one of those moments, if instead you just continue focusing on the breath and just be with that discomfort until the discomfort subsides on its own accord, you don't push it away, you're just not playing with it. You're just returning to the breath and letting the discomfort be the discomfort and you be the watcher of the breath. And what I have found is that at every one of those little wall moments, if you can move past it, you step into this broader experience of consciousness. It's very difficult to describe what I mean by that. It's something you just have to experience. But the truth is, any of you could experience that. That's not a super advanced thing because there are walls all along the way. So whatever your first wall is your first wall. You know, for some people, it'll be just the ticking of a clock in a room. But when you come up against that wall, if you can just wade through it, you're going to find yourself in a pretty different space afterwards. After that subsides, you're bigger as a consciousness. You can see and experience more. The moment is bigger. You know, for me, I have always found a wall shows up around the 45-minute mark. It used to be the 15-minute mark, but there's a big one around the 45-minute mark that I used to wade through, and that was usually a wall of boredom. You know, at that point, it was a feeling like I'm not getting anything done, and this just feels like nothing. It just feels stuck, And if you cannot use that as an excuse to get up, everything opens, the energy starts flowing, and you find yourself in a new place. At an hour and 15 minutes, there's another mark. So there's a lot of exploration to be done here when you're ready for it. For now, if you could even just get past the barrier where you meditate every single day, 15 minutes a day, every single day without fail. That alone is a huge wall for most people that keep people from ever even getting started.
Yeah, I understand what you mean because I noticed that if I do mine normally I do mine in the mornings. I normally do it at night. This would be actually nice to do at night. But in the morning, when I do the meditation, I found that after a while, it seems like the time has become shorter. I go longer, but it's actually shorter. I don't know if that makes any sense. Where it's like, wow, it's just like, I mean, and there it does feel like like I'm one with the silence or one with the darkness. The silence is a real stillness. It feels very rewarding. And today was a rare day that I didn't. So when I thought I need to have a meditation today, and I'm going to make sure somehow I get to do it.
That's great. I'm glad you could be here tonight.
Thank you.
You know, one of the interesting things about meditation is that it actually creates time.
Oh, really?
Well, you've like you're saying like time moves a little differently because of your meditation. You notice when you're sitting there, it doesn't feel like as long as it feels.
Yeah.
I've been through phases of my life where I meditated 4 hours a day and had to work and had to do other things too. And one of the things that you think when you are looking at doing something like that is, how am I ever going to have time to get that done?
Yeah.
But a kind of secret about time, which is something that you can only see for yourself by mastering where you place your attention, is that the more you shift your attention in life, the faster time goes. And if you can get yourself to a place where you are holding your attention steady, you really can stretch time out in a way where everything you need to get done really does seem to get done. And this is something, don't take my word for it. This is something to show yourself. Some morning, really give yourself to your meditation and find that stability in your attention. And then in everything that you do that day, maintain that focus. As you're doing your work, be 100% given to your work, the same way you're 100% given to your breath. Don't get involved in any of the stories. Don't listen to the jabberings of your mind. Just be completely present with the work you're doing and moving through your day. And what you will find is that you have more time when you work that way than you do when your attention is shifting around. That's how relative your experience of life is. Now, why that happens, I can't say. Is time a physical substance that you're stretching? I don't know. But what I can tell you is that the experience of time, which is a fairly, maybe it's not just a human experience, but it is an experience that involves consciousness. That experience of time has a malleable quality to it that is highly affected by meditation. And it makes more space. Meditation makes space. It makes time and space. Is anyone having any difficulties in their meditation practice that they would want to put in the chat, or that they might want to put, that they might want to talk about? For those who came back, we're asking if anybody is having any difficulties with their meditation practice that they want to talk about. Sometimes when you just put something out there, it's the fastest way to clear it up.
I would say one thing that I would difficulty I do have is that if I wake up and I'm feeling tired, and it's 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to be doing a shorter meditation today. I'll do the 15 minutes, but somehow it's not quite. Anyway, that's the challenge I have. When I surrender to the time, like no matter how tired I am, and it's 6 o'clock, and I go and do my meditation,
Mm-hmm.
then I give it the full, and it's how everything flows nicely.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm just going to lie here for a little bit, that's when it doesn't work so well. Like when I'm wondering about, you say something about the challenge of that when you're feeling a bit tired, maybe you didn't get quite enough sleep the night before, or you think you did, maybe ate a little bit late or something, and you have all the excuses in your mind saying,
Yeah. When you so one of the things, like, I think there's a fundamental realization that happens to anybody who starts practicing meditation. you know I think there's a lot of people, like, so I've been teaching meditation for probably 20 years now, and there are lots of people who they'll show up for class and they will be there for 6 months, and they will be really giving themselves to their practice, and they'll come with amazing stories of changes that are happening in their life, and you can just see their energy's moving differently. They're just kind of glowing and having an amazing experience. And then inevitably, life kind of happens in cycles, and they kind of slip down and they fall away from it for a while, and then maybe they come back a year later or 6 months later when life has slipped past a certain level uh, that they're willing to accept, and they just remember a time when they were doing really well, and they come back and they get themselves back on that wagon for a while. And you usually have to go back and forth with that for a long time before you just give yourself to, this is who I am, this is what I'm going to do. But that process of missing a day or falling off your practice for a period of time is actually very valuable, because what it does is it shows you, your mind, your subconscious, your body. It shows you that one way works in life and one way doesn't. It shows you that when you are giving your attention to this moment and really present for it, and making a practice of that every day and trying to bring that into your day, you have a completely different kind of day than when you just blow it off in the morning or whenever it is you practice. I'm not one of those people that thinks everyone has to practice at a certain time every single day. You do what you can do. But when you stop prioritizing it, just notice, at first, everything is fine because you're kind of riding on that, energy and good practice that you've created and that clarity that you've obtained. But it's a slippery slope. And so what'll happen is just one little thing will start kind of pulling the whole house of cards down, until eventually you return to your practice because you remember there was a time when something worked, when things were feeling better. So my advice is not to not slip up. My advice is to pay attention. Notice what works and what doesn't. Notice those changes, because that's what is actually going to slowly solidify your feet on that path where you just continually evolve into being more present, being more open, being more loving, being more awake. All right, these are great comments. So why don't we, for the last maybe 8 minutes or so, go back into meditation. And it's going to be a short meditation, so I want you to really dive in deep. Okay? You're not going to play with your mind once in the next 8 minutes. You're just going to breathe. You're going to throw yourself wide open And you're just going to be present and breathing and nothing else. Experience the whole moment in your breath for the next 8 minutes. How much of your awareness can you give? Give more, give more, give more. Reach into this breathing moment like a flower reaching towards the sun, completely given.
your legs fast. Come on. Come on, Sugar. You're okay. Too good boy. Come on. Sugar. Sugar. Come on. Come on, boy. Come on, Sugar.
Okay. So you notice that peace around your body. That peace that you're feeling.
Sugar. Come on, buddy. You okay?
That peace around your body that you're feeling, that's actually what you feel like. That's what the real you feels like. That's what you feel like when you are not filtering your attention through all of... Hey, Bob, put yourself on mute, buddy. That peace is actually what you feel like. It's what you feel like when you are not filtering your attention through your personal stories. You have all this you, all this real you.
Yogi. Come on, boy.
Everybody's animals need to behave. You have all this real you that you are directing with your attention, this consciousness of you that you were given, that is your birthright, that you are directing through your attention. And you're doing it on automatic pilot with a bunch of ugly, scary stories. And so your life feels ugly and scary, or tight, or frenetic, or depressed. But a simple shift in the attention, and all of that you, all of that consciousness just gets filtered through the clear filter of reality. What's left outside of your system of personal stories? And that feeling that you feel when you get there, that's the real you. That's what the real you feels like. And when you're not feeling that way, that needs to be your cue that you have shifted your attention to some aspect of illusion, to some aspect of your personal story. And in those moments, you can continue working on whatever you're working on. But instead of letting the story flip around in your head, pick one aspect of what you're working on and really give your attention to it. Stabilize your mind. Give your consciousness something clean to flow through. That's meditation. Practice gets you there. But the more you sit in the silence and let that consciousness flow through that clean, silent filter, the more you get to experience the real you. And the real you is vast. It's a vast world of intelligence. And that's just something you have to see for yourselves. But all it takes, it doesn't take anything more than just choosing to place your attention on something simple like the breath and staying there. That will be enough to quiet the mind down over time and show you you. So this week, as you're walking through your life and as you're practicing your meditation, I want you to notice the difference between those two things. I want you to notice what sort of feelings you are experiencing, and I want you to connect them with where your attention is. And then, for a few of those moments every day, decide to intercept it. Shift your attention to something else, or stabilize your attention within what you're looking at. And just be with that for 10 minutes or so and feel the difference in your body. Okay? That's your assignment this week. I still want your 15 minutes of meditation every day. But your assignment, though, is to start noticing those differences. Start watching how you're creating the feelings in your world through your attention, and start watching what happens when you shift your attention to those feelings. Get some of your power back. Get some of your choice back. Are there any questions about that before we close up?
Thank you, Liam. Wonderful.
My pleasure. My pleasure, guys. I'll be here again next Thursday. Yeah, my pleasure. I'll be here again next Thursday, same time. And if you haven't done so already, go to bodymindtapping.com to the weekly meditation page and put in your information so that you will get emailed the Zoom link. If you do it this second, it'll be the Zoom link for tonight, but sometime before bed tonight, I'll change it to the Zoom link for next week. But anybody on that list, I email them every week the Zoom link for that week's session. So just to make it easier for you. So go to that page and just fill out the little form so that I have you in my system and I can send you a link. Okay. And that goes for anyone who's watching this on recording too. Just fill that out so that we can put you on the list, and I'll make sure you always know when we have one of these sessions. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great night.
Thanks, Liam.
Thanks.